All right. Welcome back. Ken, how are you doing?
I'm good. Happy October. We are,
The heck,
I don't
who
know,
did
3/4 of the way through the year?
Is it only 3/4? Oh, that's horrible.
I don't know. Math. What is math? What is time? What is math? What is anything? All I know is it's almost the holiday season. It's almost like we got to start Christmas shopping right now.
Yes. According to my son, it is the holiday season because Halloween is his favorite holiday. So welcome back, everyone, to Creative Briefs. This is our weekly recap of the top news and analysis from the creator economy. Every week, we're going to bring you a roundup of all the news that we found, our own points of view on that, and occasionally a deep dive when we have enough time. But every week, the news is bustling so much that we are running out of the opportunity. We do go live on Fridays at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Oh, I should put this up. Yeah, we do go live on Fridays at 8 a.m. Pacific time. You can find out more over at created.show. It's the official show page for our show. We do stream on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, sometimes Clubhouse, and usually Twitter Spaces. So pick your poison if you prefer audio or video. We are happy to serve you in any way that we can. We also do have longer form posts, our show notes, and our mailing list over at createdeconomy.com. So definitely head over there if you'd like to get some of the other updates that we are pushing out. This is episode 10 of Creative Briefs. Can you believe we've done 10 of these already? Wow.
How many articles, you think about the 10 episodes of just this show, like how much news has happened in that time? It's like insane. Like we should like recap. I mean, I know we've done a founders roundtable before, but we should kind of recap like basically in the past year, like what the hell has happened. Like
you have like at least 8 or 10 relevant articles per week, right?
Yeah.
And by the way, we were doing news in the first 18 episodes or 16 episodes before that. So yeah, it's pretty insane. So the space is moving fast. By the way, do give us a follow everywhere. We are Created Economy. We are trying to get to that magical 100 number on YouTube, so we appreciate your follow over there. You can also, of course, find us on Twitter, Twitch, and, of course, Flipboard, where Ken works, where all of the articles we collect are also available. We are doing another AMA drop. In case you don't know, AMA is the official coin of the Created Economy show. It gives you an opportunity to show support. It also gives you the ability to get your news article considered faster. It gives you a chance to sort of jump on stage with us, maybe even be one of our special guests or co-hosts. So by all means, go grab some free AMA. Yes, it is free money and it is available to you right now. If you are listening, we will share a tweet out as well with the link to that shortly. But feel free to grab some AMA. Now, we do have also an official Slack for the show. It's a great place to hang out. We are sharing articles and talking about things throughout the week. It is also a great collection of other co-founders and builders who are putting together tools in the creator economy. So if you'd like to have a little bit of a deeper, richer engagement, feel free to join us over there at our Slack. Oh, don't want to do that yet. All right. So,
always
Ken,
jumping the gun. My goodness.
you know, there's no preview, so it's not my fault. I can't tell when the slides are going to go to whatever they're going to.
You're the one that built the slides. How do you not know? I
should put like a stop sign in the middle, right? Like so that not to keep going.
Next time I'll just be like, no.
But let's get into it. We got a ton of news. We were just like cutting stuff out.
Yeah, I think at some point we had like 20 articles like kind of like accumulated over the course of the week, and it took some really
luckily you trimmed it down to 10 and I added back 8. So
yeah, I know. I mean, sure, that works. So net we are still technically under what our max was, so it's all good.
All right, there you go.
But anyways, why don't we start off? Why don't you start us off with this news about Instagram Kids?
So yeah, interesting. Who is this? The Verge.
Verge. Yep.
Yeah, Verge had an article diving into sort of the pause. They didn't cancel it, but they called it a pause. Instagram was apparently planning an app for tweens. Instagram was also in court getting their ass handed to them by Congress over the last few days because everyone hates them for all of the negative things that they are causing to our children. They have done their own research and basically found that, yes, we are harmful and a problem. But, you know, from their point of view, well, who cares what their point of view is? It's harmful and it's not good. And so probably with under a little bit of pressure, they have decided to pause the release of their tween-specific app, which somehow would avoid all of the trappings and failings that the previous app had, which I don't really think is possible.
Yeah, it's another scandal or controversy, right? I mean, I think it kind of going a little further back, like last week, there was this giant series of reports from the Wall Street Journal looking at how dangerous Facebook knew, like what did Facebook know about the harmful effects that its platform was having on people? And one of the reports that came out was about like how Instagram knew that its platform was harmful to teen health, to teen girls, right? In terms of like their self-esteem and their body image and everything like that. And so of course, following that, you know, Instagram for Kids kind of was already announced prior to last week. So everyone knew it was in the works, but now it's like, oh, we're going to pause it. We're going to suspend it, whatever that verbiage is, right? It'll probably likely come out like years from now or months from now once everything dies down. But Greg, you're right. Yesterday, Facebook's global health head of safety was testified before Congress, before the Senate. And next Thursday, a whistleblower who provided said research documents to the Wall Street Journal is set to testify as well, publicly for the first time, to talk about the negative impacts of Facebook. So this is Facebook's in for a really rocky ride over the next few weeks. But I mean,
we'll see, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they somehow manage to come out unscathed every time anyway. So
of course, but it's like, because actually what actually winds up happening is Congress doesn't know how to talk about technology, right? It was what Connecticut Senator Blumenthal. And this is probably the most popular soundbite of the entire hearings yesterday, was where he asked the Facebook's exec, is like, hey, do you plan on canceling Finsta? Now, Finsta is not actually a product for Instagram or Facebook. It's actually fake. It's a fake account, Instagram, and you know they were unaware of this. So it's like, how do you regulate tech when you can't really talk about tech? But that's for a much for better experts in this field to debate.
We will see. We will see. Yeah.
All right. From one social network to another, you know, while we're talking about like, hey, Instagram's getting all this bad news, TikTok, on the other hand, is like, look, we want to increase our ad revenue, right? And to do that, we are going to pair. They're launching this marketplace that's going to pair creators with brands. So this is great for those that are probably great for those that are in that business, such as Fame Pick from who's been on our show in the past, and I think that's the problem with a lot of these social platforms. Like, hey, I think they're used to this. If you build it, they will come type of mentality. But now they realize there's a lot of competition for ad dollars. So this is actually going to be a way for to kind of help move things along and say, hey, if there's that adage isn't working anymore, so why don't we just say, all right, we know who our advertisers are, we know what they want, we know who our creators are, why don't we find ways to put them in a room together and make some magic happen? And at the end of the day, TikTok and these social platforms will win out because, hey, they're getting advertising money, right? At the end of the day, that's what they want. And this news actually comes on the heels of TikTok announcing that their app now has 1 billion monthly active users. So that's very similar to it's on the heels. It's catching up to the likes of Facebook and Google and /YouTube in terms of their MAUs as well. So definitely worth watching in the future.
And we'll touch more on this, I think, in the deep dive anyway. So yeah. By the way, look, I mean, TikTok is at scale, right? Yeah. Like so, and I think this is an important part. But yeah, we'll revisit this towards the end.
Gotcha.
Got a bunch of other stuff to get to.
And speaking of Google and ad deals, right? Google is saying is reportedly in talks with TikTok and Instagram to bring those videos into search results. Now, what you see right now
happened. What year is it?
I don't know, but it's not. I mean, it's not surprising. I mean, Google wants to consume all this data. It's the information warehouse, right? It's if you can find anything, you can be able to search for anything you want, and press or change, you'll find it in a search result. You can already see tweets when you in your search results. You can see like movie listings, you can see directions, all these type of things. So why not see these social these social platforms type of things? And to get TikTok and Instagram videos in there could be a big win for Google, because it's like, hey, why don't we just bring in two big platforms into there, right? These are just their videos. These are not your posts or like your photos or anything like that, right? But there's who actually wins in the end, because what you see with TikTok and Instagram videos and Snap, you see a lot of repetitive content, right? You see it. So I will look at Instagram Reels, right before I go to sleep, and I'll see a bunch of these videos that people produce that may have been just like, oh, we just download it from TikTok and we just re-upload it into Instagram Reels, or we'll re-upload it to Snapchat, right? So you have a lot of duplicate, repetitive content there. Like what else? Like there's a whole bunch more to consider with this. I mean, right now there's no definitive action. There's no agreement. So like, don't expect like, oh my God, my Instagram will automatically be there. But of course it's like, how is Google going to manage that expectation? Because on one hand, it's like, you're great if you have it, but what happens? But you're also supporting a rival, because TikTok and Instagram are becoming viable search, opportunities for people. I mean, it's like, if you're going to be able to want to learn how to, maintain, do some home maintenance, maybe you're going to be on TikTok as opposed to going onto YouTube. So there's some competitive advantage that Google could have by not having that being surfaced. But at the end of the day, it could also wind up being ad dollars for Google. So does the almighty dollar win at the end? I don't know. But nice little conversation to have that Google's doing. So, but moving on, let's talk about Twitch.
Well, last week, Twitch, we mentioned that Twitch had sort of struck a balance or an accord with the Music Association and some of the publishers. So, right on the heels of that, they have now actually announced that they inked a deal with Warner Music Group. And I think this is just good because, we were just randomly, our theme song, which supposedly is royalty free, thanks Harris Heller, has been getting copyright strikes here and there on not strikes, but like sort of
claims, yeah,
on YouTube. And having the ability to use music, which fundamentally helps in the production and the flow of a show and of content itself, I think is really important. And, I think Twitch, the non-gaming channels are parts of Twitch grow as well, the just chatting category and things like that. It's really powerful to have more music available. And so I think, Warner Music and Twitch coming together as what do they call it? A first of its kind partnership that will see the companies launch various recording artist channels and create a standalone music space. Okay, whatever.
A lot of buzzwords there.
Yeah, lots of buzzwords. But I mean, here's what's powerful. TikTok has been proven to be a tremendous place for actually getting new music out into the world, getting people to be aware of it. I spent most of the morning trying to get Ken stuck on the Fancy Like song, but I'm pretty sure it's going to work. Don't worry. I'll get him later today.
That's the new Rickroll for you?
That's my new Rickroll, is getting Fancy Like stuck in Ken's head. But it is interesting because it is a really interesting vehicle for getting some of this content out there, right? And new music and some discovery again, which is always a problem, right? For creators. So I'm glad to see this deal happening. Hopefully we'll see more musicians getting more visibility, and we also see more content creators being able to enrich and diversify sort of the stories they tell with music. So looking forward to see what this deal can bring for folks. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's an interesting time. By the way, hi, Eileen. Hi, Abhinav. Welcome back, everyone. Actually, I don't know if you saw this comment before, Ken, but Eileen was just saying that when you're watching TikTok videos, the content is random. How we benefit from being able to search, that will reduce the time we spend.
I think it's less about the search aspect, but it's more about the type of people that you might follow. It's almost like with what you get with like YouTube, right? So you might be able to, even though the videos are going to be random, you're going to follow certain people based on that, right? And so that's going to be in your news feed. And so at the end of the day, you're going to be spending more time on TikTok as opposed to on Google properties. So therefore, you might wind up not having that opportunity there. I don't know.
Here's the thing, though. To this point, just to touch on this a little bit, Ken. I think to your earlier article, if TikTok does want advertising, then they want more directed intent, not random sort of discovery. So to some degree, more visibility driving people back into sponsored videos and things like that likely could have some upside, right? Now, maybe not the most upside or the best upside. And certainly I understand there's a potential for cannibalization, like on the For You stream. But my guess is that better index data with better data, metadata surrounding it ultimately does lead to better opportunities for ad dollars. So,
yeah, I think there's you're right. I think it's more about direct versus indirect, and I think what Google ultimately wants to do is sure, they can say, oh, we want to make a better place for search, but it's all going to be about the money, right? Deep down, it's always going to be about the money. The more people that are searching, the more people that are using your property, your service, obviously, the more advertisers pay attention and therefore will spend more, right? As opposed to, so that, this is a way to kind of like cannibalize, as you put it, Greg, to push people away, to pull people away from TikTok. So to say, okay, you're going to spend more of your time looking on here. So it's like this one-stop shop for everything. That's Google, as opposed to going onto TikTok. But I think there's a lot more details to be fleshed out in terms of what would happen from a Google, Instagram, TikTok type of relationship. So we'll look forward to seeing what happens if any such deal materializes.
Yeah, Eileen made a comment that it benefits advertisers, not users or creators.
Yeah.
I would argue actually probably the opposite. I would say that I think it is time that we get past the point of view that like we're on opposite sides, right? I believe that with better data, with better focus and targeting, advertising can be additive to an experience, right? Like you can have highly relevant brands showing up in highly relevant content with a highly engaged and high intent audience. And so I get like historically, it's certainly been true that advertisers can ruin things for other folks. And by the way, that is always true. As they say, the saying is there for a reason, that marketers ruin everything. I'm not disagreeing per se with that, but I do think we have to look for the opportunities to make things better as opposed to sort of like just burrowing back into, our halves, because I do think there are lots of great opportunities for more collaboration and more reach. And ultimately, if we stop thinking about creators being the only audience and start thinking about us, the audience, being a part of that ecosystem as well, we should be saying, here's the things I do want. A lot of people actually say they would opt into ads that were highly relevant to them. They just hate the interruptive ads that don't offer a lot of value.
Right. And at the end of the day, I mean, here's an interesting point from the information article. It's like TikTok and Instagram compete against YouTube, so the apps may have good reason to avoid sharing more detailed information with Google about the billions of videos they control, at least not without getting something substantial in return. So at the end of the day, it's also about the data, right? It's also about the data about those videos that they may not also want to be able to share, because if you do that, Google gets more information, and at the end of the day, it goes to, can help to support more targeted advertising and blah, 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 and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So again, a lot of digest in there. We'll see what happens if a deal actually materializes from this. So
what we got
all
next?
Right. Let's talk about Clubhouse, because I think we're not streaming to Clubhouse today. Oops.
Oh man.
Anyways, so here there's a few new features that are coming to Clubhouse today, and also actually this month.
It's live now. Some of this is live.
Yeah, actually, some should be rolling out now today. Because hello, we're in October, right? So
right. we should have actually streamed the Clubhouse, because we could have tried the clipping thing.
That's true.
I'm going to start it right now.
now. But here's the thing, because that's not necessarily going to be available to a lot of people, because it's available to select creators right now. Right.
Let me see if I have the option.
Yeah, go ahead and take a look, and if we are, then we'll do an ad hoc jump onto Clubhouse just to check it out. Anyways, before Greg ruins my moment here, my news hit here. So Clubhouse is announcing clips and replay. They're also announcing better search and spatial audio, but you can read about that later on this TechCrunch article. But I want to focus on the clips and the replays here, right? So clips is basically will allow any listener, doesn't matter if you're the host or a moderator, any listener in that room to extract the last 30 seconds of that audio in that room and share it anywhere, right? Great thing. Sure, if you want to get that soundbite, Greg, if at the end of the show, you're like, oh my God, or if you like, maybe I say something enlightening. I know it's a rarity, but it happens. So, and you're like, oh my God, this would be great to share on our social accounts or whatever.
30 seconds of value seems pretty low.
You know what? It's up to 30 seconds. Okay. You don't have to take the full 30 seconds of awfulness that I'm spouting. Okay.
By the way, doesn't this seem like the crappiest version of an implementation? Like, I don't know.
What, 30 seconds?
No, just like, it seems just like random, right? Like,
random timing, like to announce it, like, hey, we're doing clipping now.
No, just that the clips are only 30 seconds. Like, why can't I just start a clip and end the clip? But by the way, you have to do it retroactively, I guess. So it's also hard because, like, crap, that was something useful. I don't know.
That's also the last. That's why they have the last 30 seconds, right? Because then that time you're like, oh, maybe he said something. What did he say? Instead of trying to type it out, it's like, oh, clip and do that. But and Clubhouse has been has had some issues in terms of moderation and awfulness that's been on the app in the past. We know that. We've covered it in the show before. It's been in a news cycle many times. Here's where, so Clubhouse is trying to put a nice positive spin on it. It's like, hey, we don't want negative things to happen on this. We want to mitigate that, because what could happen is, like, I can take the last 30 seconds and slice it in a way that cuts off valuable, pertinent information, relevant information.
That's the part where you say don't, right?
Exactly.
Just use
part, I could say something to the point of, like, don't use a gun to shoot people, to kill people, right? And it could be, and you could extract and say, use a gun to kill people. Like, whoa, hold on, that could be
our shorts for later today when Ken says to use a gun to kill people.
And we are now banned from every social platform. Thank you very much, Greg. So what they're doing is, for clips, and what I was telling you about this earlier, Greg, is that it's going to be available to a select group of creators right now in beta. It's rolling out.
Tried to find one for 20 minutes and found only one room that had it, actually.
Yeah, but so anyone will be able to do it if it's implemented responsibly. I think this would be a good thing. Oddly enough, no, you're right. It's very much like Instagram, but but it's a nice, clever play. It's almost like how we do with our Discord, with our, I'm not with this, with the script, right? After the show, we have a great insight from one of our guests on our Wednesday show. You extract that soundbite and you upload it to YouTube, share it on social media. That's kind of what this is. It's to entice. It's that honeypot to get people like, oh, hey, Josh Constantine said some great things on his press club thing, press club room last Thursday. Let me go. I want to go extract that, and boom, and then you, Greg, would be like, hey, that's a great thing. Let me go subscribe and follow that room and follow that person. So it's a growth hack type of thing, I'd see.
I think the more important feature here, Ken, though, is the replays.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm getting to that because so that's supposed to be rolling out in October, but hey, we're in October, so it should be rolling out now. But only the moderator or the host will be able to enable it on, toggle it. So if we should be able to do that, assuming that we have it there. So that means you're going to be able, it's available for asynchronous listening afterwards. It'll be available on your profile, on your Clubhouse profile, Greg, if you're at the host, right? And also me as the moderator. And it'll be there for however long you want it to be. So that's a nice little way to do that. I think the thing with Clubhouse has always been that it's like always been live. It's basically ephemeral. It's like a live event. If you're not there, you're not there. If you don't know, you don't know, right? And so now this makes it easier to kind of recap.
By the way, last night I hosted a conversation. I hosted Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank.
Yep.
I had my mic, which we went over what went wrong with that. But because I had to switch to my AirPods, I was recording on my Rodecaster and it didn't record anything. Basically, it didn't get the audio from the Clubhouse side, only from my mic. So I lost the recording. Would have been nice. But fortunately, I think the Startup Club people were in the room and also recorded it. But I think you're right. Like Clubhouse was, for me, by the way, Clubhouse wasn't about the live part per se. It was just that it was audio. I think by default it was live, but I certainly expected, anticipated that we would get to the point where they would have recordings, right?
Yeah.
So I think it does make sense. Actually, do we have that next article about Clubhouse, the Verge one?
Yep.
Because I think highly related to this was there was also a great article out by The Verge talking about how Clubhouse needs creators, but creators need cash. And look, I've got some. I was a big fan of Clubhouse for sure. But, they just screwed up a ton of stuff, right? Like for really no good reason, right? In my notes, I really wrote down and said it shines a light on three eternal truths, right? One is that cash is and always will be king when trying to divert someone's time and attention, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're trying to get me as a creator to spend my time doing something, right, over something else, when every minute counts for me, like surviving or paying my rent or doing these other things, you got to get this crap right? Like you can't just like dilly-dally around the edges with this, right? The second point I made, though, is that being a new formats are hard, right? Like it took a long time. Look, we still argue about ROI constantly with brands and media companies, right? About what's the ROI of social. Clubhouse doesn't have like any data. They don't have any demographics. They don't have any of the things that marketers would normally want to get back, right? As a result of spending or targeting, right? They don't have the audio. They don't have any reuse. They don't have any of these other pieces. So guess what? Of course, it's hard to like actually sell sponsorships in a new format when you haven't done the table stakes to to provide marketers the tools and things that they need to be there and to be successful. And just the last point, what the hell are they doing over there? They have like $1 billion, right? Like they should be hiring and executing at a rapid clip. And they just haven't done any of these things. We've heard after town hall that these kinds of things are coming. It's been a year. Most of the people I know that were like really big in the Clubhouse have already left. They don't even go there anymore, right? I ran into a guy last night at a VC party, used to do stuff on Clubhouse. He's like, is it dead? What's the point, right? That feeling is setting in because they are just fundamentally failing to execute, right? Like they just sort of like, look, I'm an engineer, I'm a CTO, I'm a founder, right? Like I've built software companies. I know it's not easy, but they don't have an excuse, right? Like they have all the people wanting to do things there. They have all the money in the world to do them. What's taking so long, right? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, you're right, and I think it's that snail's pace that's ultimately frustrating people, right? It's like they're doing a billion things at once, and some of it's focused, some of it's not focused, right? I mean, you look at like this we talked about earlier, like clipping and recording. That makes it, that streamlines the platform a little more for creators or people that are hosting rooms, right? Because it's like now you don't have to MacGyver this approach, right? I mean, to literally what you said, Greg, earlier is like, okay, you piping in the audio into this and this and this. It's like me as with limited tech, like just basic tech. Oh, I have a laptop here, whatever. It's like I'm like, I don't know how to record something on Clubhouse.
Yeah,
Am I
I
just
spent
taking my phone?
$1,000 worth of hardware ultimately so I could record Clubhouse stuff.
Yep.
Most people aren't going to do that, right?
Yep.
Like,
but now it's like easier to do that, to make it easier. But that, I mean, so that's one point. It's like, okay, it's the technically in the realm of thing, it's the low hanging fruit of things, right? It's like, oh, it's a nice little feature to have. It's product love, right? Great, nice to have. It's certainly needed. Great moving forward. Nice little growth hack type of stuff. But to your point, but what we're talking about with this article, I mean, this is pretty scathing, right? You're talking about like you built this creator fund, like, and I think this is something Greg and you and I have been talking about off camera. It's like these creator funds, just like it's all a matter of like, are you teaching a man, like giving a man a fish, or are you teaching them how to fish, right?
Mhm.
I mean, it's like, sure, but if you're going to be like, hey, I'm going to teach them how to fish, and in this case, teach them how to really create, social audio shows and programs or whatever, there's got to be more to that as opposed to here's money, right? It's like, I'm going to give you, $15,000 to create the show, but there's got to be a lot more attention to make sure it happens, to show that not only keep them excited about the platform, but to kind of help them, get off their knees and be able to run and to walk and run and live there and become an adult in this space, to be a mature personality on the space. Right now, this article doesn't suggest that at all.
Well, they failed fundamentally. Like they had a program, they had all these people apply, they picked a bunch that they were supposed to make some winners out of, and they basically couldn't barely deliver $1 to most of those folks. So, look, I these things, I'm not trivializing these things, but it is harder when you don't have attention and resources and people wanting you to win, and they have all those things, right? So this is why it's frustrating, right? Is that they should have done better. And, hopefully they're turning a corner with like some of these new features. I think they just don't, there's not enough, it doesn't feel like there's externally looking in, there isn't enough strong product thinking about what do you want to be. And I think like they spent too long like sorting that out as opposed to like trying and failing. Yeah. Right. Like, so they tried to be everything and they failed, of course. So now they're trying to be something, and let's hope they can succeed with it.
Let me just be a little devil's advocate here, because on one hand, does this also emphasize a broader issue with creator funds in general, right? Because if look, they Clubhouse was one of the early ones with the kind of like a creator fund in this generation of startups and tech, right? But obviously, it's kind of had some issues, major issues. But you also look at what like Facebook's creator fund. You look at Twitter's supposed to have one coming out. Snap has one. All these, Discord. I don't know how many creator funds there are out there, but is that like an issue where it's like that companies need to come to grips with, because they're not necessarily, they don't have that outcome plan. They don't have a sound strategy for that. Is our creator funds harder than they look, as opposed to, hey, we have money, let me dish it out?
I think it's important to remember that to varying degrees, obviously, right? But creator funds are for the platforms, not for the creators, right? Mm-hmm. So if what the platform is really doing is they're either trying to keep you engaged so you don't leave, or they're trying to learn how to maximize their benefit in the process, right? So they're basically saying like, can I incentivize a certain behavior that can then increase my ability to lock you in? Or can I ply you with some kind of reward now that prevents you from churning off of our platform, right? Mm-hmm. So when someone's running a fund, like, if you're a Clubhouse, and I'm not blaming them for this, if you're running a program like Creator First, what are you trying to do? You're trying to learn what it takes to successfully allow people to, trying to learn how to develop a process that will let more people replicate it. But that process is going to be implemented ultimately back into your platform, right? Like as software, which builds more lock-in and more, sort of more dependency on you ultimately, right? That's the nature of platforms. I'm not judging them. I'm not blaming them. I think that's just how they work, right? They try to make inefficient things more efficient, and they try to create more opportunities. Now, that's why oftentimes if you see these funds, success is not necessarily measured only in do creators generate success, because to some degree these are like startups. So what success is actually, do I learn enough to do it better the next time, right? And that may mean like that the creator makes more money in an ideal world, right? It also just simply may mean, am I learning enough to make the process easier for us to run it, right? Like, et cetera. So there's a lot of forces going on or at play at the same time, right? Everyone has creator funds. I agree, absolutely, right, Eileen. And those creator funds don't necessarily. It's not that they don't have benefit to the creators that are in them per se, right? But remember, the reason someone's doing the fund, there are reasons why they're doing it, and you making more money as a creator, or you becoming independent as a creator, definitely is almost likely not the actual goal, right?
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, now let me go. There we go. So, speaking of, we're done with talking about Clubhouse.
Slow moving? No.
Let's talk about Patreon here. So, Patreon, the headline from in this Bloomberg Business Week article is Patreon battles for creators by investing in original content. So they're inching closer. Patreon's inching closer to a potential IPO. It's valued at $4 billion. So it's now going to invest some money, unknown how much exactly, into live streamers, to YouTubers, to podcasters, podcasters, video game live streamers, YouTubers, and even celebrities to create original content on the platform. So what Patreon's trying to do is kind of be this one-stop shop for everything. And according to in this interview with CEO Jack Conte, what he basically wants is he wants there to be a single platform where creators can run their own media business, but also be able to publish that content on there as well. So he wants to be a one-stop shop for everything. I don't know. I mean, it's a nice move. I think what people may want is that not to be able to jump around from place to place. To be honest, I haven't been on Patreon that often, so I'm kind of.
There's nothing to be there for. So
right. I mean, you subscribe to someone's Patreon, and you get like all these rewards, and it's like that. It's a exclusive area for you for like exclusive content. So you're not going to find that same content necessarily on YouTube or on Twitch or Facebook or on a Substack or anything like that. But now they kind of want to. What Patreon wants to do is monopolize it. So now it's kind of essentially creating this walled garden. So I don't know. It's like, how much more of a reach is this? It is a nice way to incentivize people to buy more, to subscribe more. Is that a growth hack? I mean, Greg, what do you think? Is this a good move on Patreon's part?
I mean, I guess if Patreon does anything, it's probably good, because I feel like they haven't done a lot in a long time, honestly. Right. Patreon, I think Patreon was really critical and important to the space, right? Mm-hmm. Like it sort of set out and established sort of this pathway for creators to monetize without relying on ads, right? It was one of the first places that you could directly monetize and actually be viable kind of in your own way. But it feels like they kind of rest on their laurels a bit here, right? Like for a long time, it's still basically been like a pay-gated blog or something like that, in my opinion, right? I don't know if creators hopefully they've got data that's validating this, I guess, right? But like, are what creators saying is like, hey, the thing I need is to be able to make more private content, mm-hmm. right? Probably not. If they're going to start paying creators, and I think if Did I miss the title of the article? What was the title again? Original content, right?
Yeah, original content. Yep.
So, here's the thing. I love Patreon's founders and their mission, right? Like, because I do think they are one of the early adopters here that truly had creators like at heart. Like they like fundamentally were like, how do we make it good for you, right? And so to that end, they can also seem like very like complacent, I guess, right? Like relatively speaking, because like they're not fixing a thing that's broken. It's working for the creators that are on there. But like, is it accelerating creators? And so maybe this is sort of there, but I feel like these things are problematic, largely because there isn't enough money for one company to fund everybody, right?
Right.
And so I do think like while maybe this, this is like feels like when Spotify bought Joe Rogan, right? Like, and that, great, yeah, here's $100 million. You're stuck with us for 5 years, and hopefully that's going to make like more people come here and live here. Patreon doesn't have any discovery. Like it's just not a tool for finding other people per se, right? Like you tend to find, and by the way, that's not, I don't view that per se as a negative. I get that there's a discovery problem in general for creators. But I don't think they're designed much like I believe is a strong way for platforms to be designed, which is that creators build their networks and platforms provide tooling and services to help them maximize the opportunity with those audiences, right? So I think Patreon's in a good spot. If this means moving towards becoming more of a network or something like that, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how they broach that problem because as that thread I did a couple of weeks, was it 2 weeks ago now?
I think it was 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Talks about sort of like how networks are sort of a different beast. And then even the fourth category, or is it the fifth? I don't remember. There's the other category that I didn't mention in that thread was just really like the idea of marketplaces. And so I don't know, like, great. Yeah. It's a battle for the top again, right? Everything like with this is always a battle for the top, right? Like, because who are you battling for? Like only the people who are coveted are hard to get, right?
Yeah.
Like you only need to dedicate a lot of money for the hard to get people, like, because everyone else is trying to maximize as many opportunities as possible. So yes, do fans want a single platform that, as you note here, Ken, that not only lets them run their media business, but also publish some content they create? Maybe. But normalizing all content down doesn't feel like a better win for for the fans either per se, right? Like the TikTok format is great because of the format, right? Like, so would bastardizing it down to run it inside of Patreon be better for fans? I don't know, right? Like I'm torn on that.
Yeah, but I think in order to get people onto I think it's a tricky situation because on one hand you have Patreon just raised like $155 million, right? Or I say just, it's like it's been a while, a few months, right? So they have this new investment infusion of cash. So obviously they have to use it for something, right? It's not as if you just go raise money and like, oh, you don't like, what do you do with it? Oh, we're just going to do a Scrooge McDuck dive off of Jack Conti's going to dive off of this springboard into this big pile of money, right? I don't think that's going to happen. So they're obviously hiring more people. The creator economy is certainly flourishing. There's going to be a lot of these people out there. So you might as well, you got to support them somehow. And people want to be able to monetize or grow their businesses, create these businesses themselves. So they're either going to use Patreon, or use something like Mighty or something like that, right? There's plenty of these type of things. So there's a struggle for there's some competition at play here. But what Patreon's problem may be, and it's very curious to hear more of their strategy, is is the original content play isn't easy as what you might think it would be. Snap has had one with their Spotlight. Facebook's tried it out with their original content. A lot of services have tried it with original content. Some have succeeded, some not so much, right? Unless you're truly a media play, like obviously like a Peacock or HBO, like obviously that's your bread and butter. So of course you can create original content. The issue I see here with specifically with courting, podcasters, video live streamers, YouTubers, and celebrities, do they already have a Patreon? If you don't have a Patreon, right? It's like say Patreon comes and courts us, right? It's like, hey, come, create original content for us. Bring the show over there. Like, we don't have a presence on Patreon to begin with. Like, why would do we know how we're going to, charge people like for our show. We haven't thought. So that's like, going from 0 to 60 quickly, right? It's like, and that could possibly screw up a creator's strategy for a business. So there's some things to consider in that regard, I would say.
I think that's so here's how I would say, Ken. I think
is that a lot more hand waving, fear mongering type of thing?
Less that. I think maybe the headline is misleading, right?
Okay.
So my read on it is, this feels to me kind of like Substack more than it does like Netflix, say, right? So Netflix is like, great, we're going to make a ton of original content, or your Quibi, we're going to have a bunch of content, right? Like whatever it is, right? But my read on it is not that they're trying to figure out how to draw people because of their original content, but more so that they are trying to ease the process for creators to offer original content to their audience, which still is separate but together versus like one homogenous thing. Does that make sense? I don't know if it makes sense, but
yeah,
right. So I think like, yes, like you're right that we wouldn't have an audience there, but presumably we had an audience and we wanted to deliver something proprietary. And so instead of, say, doing it through our ghost site with subscriptions, or through Zealous with subscriptions, or through Substack with subscriptions, Patreon with subscriptions, which is already what they were good at, right? Maybe that's the better place to sort of try to deliver more of that proprietary stuff, right? So that's how I read it. But again, I still believe fundamentally that it seemed, and maybe again, because we don't have all the details, but just figuring out ways to lift up more creators as opposed to entrenching established ones still ultimately feels like the better longer term win and strategy. Yeah. And I would imagine that's what hopefully Patreon is trying to do. Like Patreon only has, I say only, but like 250,000 creators or so, I believe, like on the platform, right? But there's still 50 million creators, right? Even in the full-time creator space, there's like 2 million about, right? Like, so they only have like 1/8 of that space still, right? So I guess there's still obviously a lot of room left to grow. Maybe that's the goal, is to win more of the 2 million full-timers into the platform. It'll be interesting to see.
I'm not, I don't think that it's a bad move. I mean, it's a logical step for Patreon. By all means, see how this experiment goes. They have a lot of money. They're playing with house money. Might as well see how it plays out. If it works, great. I think there's a lot of these companies that are launching their own kind of like streaming services within their own platforms. They're like, it's an adjacency. So, when this launches, I'll be very curious to see how it turns out. But we are running short on time. So why don't we talk a little bit about NFTs before we get into our deep dive here?
Honestly, I think we may end on NFTs because we have like 9 articles. So this show was never about crypto, but unfortunately, there is so much crypto stuff going on that it's hard to not talk about crypto.
So we're going to launch a new show called Created Crypto.
Yeah, we should definitely just do that. I mean, you can only watch it if you have AMA coins.
Or we'll be like a cash type of thing, was like dollar created or something like that.
Yeah. But why don't you start with this article, Ken? Because this is the biggest news for the week.
This is the biggest news because, look, the NFTs are obviously becoming synonymous with the creator economy. Greg, as you pointed out, TikTok has launched this initiative called Top Moments, and basically it's going to be a collection of NFTs that are created by creators on the platform. Right, so it's powered through Immutable X, and it's available on Ethereum. So there's a couple of points here. One, it's going to have a bunch of celebrities, including Lil Nas X, Brittany Broski, Gary Vaynerchuk, who's a dear friend of ours, who's very much into NFTs and also the hustle. Bella Porch and Curtis Roach and a bunch of other people, and across entertainment culture and so on and so forth. They're creating NFTs. It'll be available for sale, but TikTok's actually not going to take a cut of this. Majority of the revenue will be given to the creators themselves. There'll be obviously some fees that'll go towards Immutable X and all these other supporting providers. But TikTok's not taking anything. Technically does TikTok need more money? I mean, they're going to get it anyways based off of ads and all this other stuff. So TikTok's kind of like, all right, we're good. We're going to kind of like leave the NFT revenue off to creators.
Immutable X has no gas fees, they claim.
Yeah.
And
so
carbon neutral NFTs.
Yeah. So nice little environmentally friendly type of thing. I'm kind of slightly turned off by NFTs just because of the gas fee and the minting. It's like nickel and dime you.
But should eliminate it. So
that's also true. So these are again limited edition will be available, powered by Immutable X. The one on some NFTs will on Ethereum. There'll be weekly drops that take place at the end of the month. So I mean, there's a lot of opportunities here. This is the first time I guess that we're seeing a major social platform kind of support NFTs.
Well,
right?
It's the second time because technically Twitter said they were doing it last week.
Well, actually have followed through. Like you actually see something tangible as opposed to an experiment, which we might be able to get to a little bit later on.
Did share a link also to one of the Twitter devs has actually posted is it a screenshot? I was trying to see what the actual image was in here. I don't get what's in the tweet.
Trying to find it.
I think we mentioned last week Twitter was actually going to be verifying NFT PFP like profile picture NFTs. So this was just an interesting. Oh, it's a video. Oh, yeah. Okay. So, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, the big platforms are getting into this domain. I do hope, by the way, and I really like seeing that they are on Immutable X, and I do hope if they can do it in the gas-free environments and in ecologically and environmentally friendly ways would be great because obviously they have massive scale. And if they can do things to prevent us from just blowing the earth up in the process, it'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, it's if TikTok kind of becoming that hub for cultural moments and like, nice little meme type of situations, being able to take that and transform that into being an NFT. It's like, hey, it's in the moment. Yeah, I like that dance video or that moment in that dance video or something. So you can be able to own a little part of that history, which is a nice little catch, right? So TikTok's kind of really banking on momentary type of situations, right?
Well, here's the thing. This is not like foreign in any way either, right?
No.
Jack sold his first tweet for several $1 million.
No.
I know I've seen like I put one of my more popular tweets up as an experiment on cent.co to actually sell sort of like a tweet I had. So minting your social posts into things seems like a very easy pathway.
Yeah.
What I'm curious about is how is the pushback or fears maybe that artists may have and creators may have about this, right? So like, what does it mean to really sell the NFT? Am I giving up you're usually not giving up the rights to any of the revenue generated from it and other things like that. So, in talking to some friends who are trying to build in this space, they've gotten some of this kind of feedback. So there's some interesting things here. We will see more of this for sure.
Yeah. What about authenticity, right? I mean, it's like, you see a lot of duplicate data, duplicate videos. Again, how do you what's going to stop me from taking that dance video that you do, Greg, and minting it myself? I mean,
you won't be the account owner, right? So,
well, I mean, again, that's how does the authenticity come into play on TikTok specifically? Because it's like I could find some way to MacGyver and download your video, re-upload it, put a nice little spin on it, and then make my own NFT.
I think, look, the problem with fakes and scams on NFTs is definitely probably its own topic unto itself. But that doesn't seem too big of a worry to me. Like, so for example, if I wasn't accessing the NFT and what, like, for example, TikTok can enable is like, collectibles could be listed right on my profile page. And so being able to see them right there, that should eliminate any worry that this is the right person, right?
Yeah, maybe they're like, hey, if they check your account, it's like, did you actually upload this video? Like actually create it on your phone or whatever, then you're allowed to create an NFT. But if you're uploading, I don't know. It's like how it works in the back end would be very, very interesting to know. Let's see. Do we want to talk about Koji now?
Yeah, so our friends over at Dimitri and team over at Koji also launched their own sort of Web3 stack. So the information has a little mention of them, and what they basically have done is enabled you to create like Web3 crypto style apps basically right on top of the Koji stack. So if you are, like your Gary V, you could go and link in and start to leverage, like say, oh, if you own this NFT, you can unlock content inside of like the Koji universe. If you want to stand up an app and you want to sell NFTs, some of this behavior is going to be possible. So I think it's interesting to see, more and more platforms sort of adopting this. I still think it's early, and I still will caveat that most creators likely shouldn't be screwing around with this stuff because they should still be focusing on making money to support themselves. However, there's a lot going on here. It's probably important to understand what's happening, even if you're not necessarily deploying it or leveraging it yet.
Yeah. You want to do one or two more?
Yeah, we did have also our friend Amber Case, who will be with us later this month. Is it?
Yeah, later this month. Yeah.
Amber's going to be here, but she's also an advisor over at the Unlock Protocol. They just actually announced a new raise from the founder of the owner of the Guardian. Unlock is a sort of an NFT style protocol built around memberships, specifically to help sort of creator economy in selling and limiting access based on sort of crypto. So we will dive obviously more into this, but it was just interesting to see again more more investment going into this arena. They just reading a little summary here. They say monetization for creator economy continues to be a huge issue and opportunity, but creators mostly have to lock themselves into platforms like Patreon. So,
hey, Patreon.
Look, one person's locked in is another person's freedom, right? So I find this very interesting on the spectrum of things, right? Yeah. From one place to the other. So yes, you can technically own your own stack. Yes, you could technically run your own stack. Yes, you will probably have a 99% drop off in the actual available customer base to service you or work with you as you move to the more and more owned stack. So just remember that as you think about it. This will be a fun topic to talk about with Amber when she's here as well.
Yep. And finally, let's talk about just kind of summarizing everything earlier on. We talked about creator funds. We talked about NFTs and crypto. Ripple, I think probably most people know them because they gave I think them and Ashton Kutcher gave like $50 million or something like that to a school for some education thing back in the day. They're announcing a $250 million creator fund. Hey, another creator fund. But here's the thing, because so Ripple is backing the XRP ledger, the cryptocurrency, and so they want to have artists and developers to build on that on XRP, right? So $250 million to support that. Nice chunk of change. I think it's not something super major, though. What's fascinating about this is that if you see a lot of people building on Ethereum, you see a lot of people building off of Bitcoin and Dogecoin or whatever. So why not? This is a nice, again, growth hack to get people to build NFTs and other things on top of XRP to get more of that attention. So something to pay attention to. It's like, can XRP, really stand out more amongst Ethereum? I think Ethereum's having that Cinderella moment, so to speak, along with Bitcoin. So fascinated to see if this can stand out to become one of the I guess major type of cryptos out there.
Yeah, this is part of what makes all of this so complicated, right? Is that you've got multiple currencies, you've got multiple blockchains, you've got differing fees and factors. And again, this is still all competing for a very small part of the universe, right? There's a lot of money there. There's just not a lot of people there, right? And so I do find it it will be interesting, but I still think we're many years away probably from this becoming any more mainstreamed than it really is today. Obviously we're in it, so we see it more, but I'm not sure yet. Right. Yeah. But we'll see. I mean, like, hey, if creators can make money, like, here's the thing, that's not real money. It's crypto. I get it. It's supposedly eventually money, but like, you still have to do a bunch of things to get it to a point where it is money. Right. Yeah, absolutely right, Arnold. Everything, all of this has to get much simpler for the creators. More importantly, it has to get much simpler for their fans, right? Like, because if you're asking your fans to support you, but you make it incredibly difficult, well, guess what? You're going to get less support, right? Um, so who knows? But Ken, we obviously had way too much news. I mean, not in a bad way. Just it's just there's just so much going on. But I'm glad we got through everything.
Yep.
That we wanted to, at least for the time being. Thank you, everybody, though, for joining us once again. This has been Creative Briefs. We will be back on Wednesdays. Oh, wait, I have a deck, don't I? Should put that back in here.
Adventure slide.
Yes, advance. Now I can see. Now I can advance my slide. Oh, we didn't even get to do.
Nope,
this.
advance after that. There you go.
All right. So, by the way, next week we do have our friend Goldie Chan. Oh, I forgot to update this art, but Goldie is now at Light Tricks, just announced. Ooh. So we will be happy to chat with Goldie about all the work that's going on over there. She's the new director of community, I believe. We have a full schedule still through the rest of the year, obviously. So Joe from Issue, not going to try to say his name. I just saw they were announced a $31 million raise. They built a graphics company, apparently, helping creators. Yeah, Amber's up on the 20th. Peter Shankman, our friend, will be here on the 27th. If you'd like to be a guest of the show, by all means, head over to creativeeconomy.com. There's a link up top for the guest list. You can see who's coming, and then you can also add your name to the list. So we look forward to seeing you soon. Don't forget, we do record twice a week. Wednesdays at 2 p.m., we do Creative Economy, which is our deep dive and interview series. And then, of course, Friday mornings, we do Creative Briefs, which is our news. And with that, I will say goodbye. Ken, I'll see you soon.
See ya.
Bye, everybody.